Welcome to worship at Holmeswood. I'm Lorraine Gengere. It's so good to worship with you this morning. And welcome to those of you who are worshiping online. If you're online, please greet others in the comment box. If you're a guest with us this morning, we are glad you're here. There are water fountains and restrooms in the Terry Brown gathering space just outside the sanctuary. We would love to get to know you. Please use the QR code on the worship bulletin or the screen, or a card from the back of the pew to let us know how you prefer to connect with Holmeswood. When you complete the information, $10 will be donated to Foster Adopt Connect in your honor. I have a few announcements to share. On Saturday, April 25th, Carmen Ramirez will lead a nature walk from 10 to 11:15 a.m., starting at the Minor Park North entrance on East Redbridge Road. We will be encouraged on these walks to observe our natural surroundings, enjoy the spring blooms, and appreciate the beauty of nature. Everyone is welcome. On Sunday, May 3rd, join us for lunch after worship at the nearby Panera on State Line Road. This will be an opportunity to connect with people at Holmeswood you may not know as well, and to share table fellowship together. Attendees will purchase their own lunch. Please sign up outside the sanctuary or through the link in the What's Happening to let us know how many to expect. The Missions Council is in need of donations for the furniture closet. We are accepting small kitchen appliances, dishware, clean mattresses, and bedding. Please let Evelyn Batiste know if you have donations before bringing them to church. We are excited to welcome 2 new interim leaders to Holmeswood. Sydney Robb will serve as interim coordinator of children ministries, guiding our children birthed through 5th grade and supporting their families. Sydney is already a familiar face to our kids by serving as a Worship Wonder leader, mystery guest, and VBS volunteer. She is a pre-K teacher at Pumpkin Patch Daycare. She loves music and is eager to continue growing a connection at Holmeswood. Heather Lehman will serve as interim coordinator of youth, leading our 6th through 12th graders and their families. Heather is already active in youth gatherings at Holmeswood and will be a chaperone on the summer youth trip. She brings experience as a middle school and high school science teacher, along with years of church leadership as a Sunday school teacher, youth volunteer, board member, deacon, and elder. Both Sydney and Heather will serve about 10 hours per week as Holmeswood discerns future staffing. As they begin this work, please join us in warmly welcoming them both. As we gather to worship this morning, may you know that God loves you. May you know that you're welcome in this place and that your life, your story, is held within God's goodness and intention for all things to be made whole. God is still writing this story of hope and peace, and all of creation is part of it, including us. Let's worship together.
Good morning, Holmeswood. It's good to be with you all today on this 3rd Sunday of Easter. On this 3rd Sunday of Easter, we celebrate and remember resurrection and new creation, and we join our voices to sing together in creation song. As you're able, would you stand with us as we sing?
At this time, we invite the children to come forward here with me to the front. Sydney, why don't you come up too? All right. Good morning, friends. So good to see you again. I think I see a few more folks, so hang on here. I'm so glad you're here. We're all glad they're here. Hi, Raymond. We're coming. All right. Raymond, you made it. Awesome. Well, today is kind of a funny feeling day for me. It's my last day here at Holmeswood to be your pastor. And so I'm a little bit sad about that. You know, a little bit sad. Yeah. And because, you know, we've got to say goodbye. But I'm also, what's weird about today too is I'm also kind of excited for you all because you've got something new coming your way. And so do I. Some new things are coming. So with goodbyes come new hellos. And I want you to say hello to Sydney. Some of you know Sydney already, right? Sydney has worked with you all in Worship and Wonder Stories, a storyteller, and she has also helped in BFGs and in the nursery, and at our day camp last year she helped, so she knows a lot of you. But I'm really excited for you to get to know Sydney better, and for Sydney to get to know you and your families better. It's kind of an exciting time for new things too. So it's kind of like the disciples in our Bible story today, too. I realized, you know, this is a feeling that goes on all the way back in time. Because even at the time of Jesus, people had to say goodbye and hello. In our Bible story today in Big Worship, Jesus had been, you know, we all celebrated his resurrection, how God made him alive. But back then, just like today, they didn't know what in the world that meant. So in our Bible story today, a couple of his disciples who are on the road, they were taking a walk from Jerusalem, where all these things had happened, to a little village called Emmaus. And they were on this road talking and walking and wondering, imagine that, wondering what on earth just happened. I wonder what their wondering questions were as they walked on the road to Emmaus. And they were just wondering, well, I wonder, how did the stone roll away? Or somebody said they might have seen his body, I don't know. Just wondering. And then suddenly another friend starts walking with them and starts wondering with them. And this person starts telling them what they thought it meant. Maybe, you know, why Jesus died and became made alive again. And as they got to the city, the village of Emmaus, they said, hey, we really like hanging out with you. Why don't you come and have dinner with us, okay? We don't want to quit wondering yet. Let's go have some food together. And so their new friend joined them for dinner. And at the table, this new friend took the bread and he blessed it, and he broke it. And he said, take and eat. Pull a piece off of there if you'd like. Sydney, go ahead and share that with them. Said, take and eat. Yummy, yummy. And you know what? Tara, you can have some. Okay. Come on. When this person did that, suddenly those disciples looked at them and said, we know who you are. You've done this over and over and over again. Every time you saw people and food, you know what? You blessed it and you shared it. So who was it that was walking along? Jesus was right there. Resurrected Jesus was walking along with them, wondering and explaining and trying to make sense of all the things that had happened together. And so that's how they knew it was Jesus. He broke bread and shared it. So I wonder, if breaking bread is how they knew Jesus, if every time the people get together and they break bread and they share a meal, kind of like we do here at least once a month or anytime you go share a meal, if it can remind you and help you remember about Jesus, who Jesus was and is, all about sharing and wondering and loving and caring in the way that Jesus did. So Jesus is alive with us every time we break bread together. Will you pray with me? Our dear loving God, we thank you so much for these children who have come here today to wonder about you, to grow in you, to get to know you better and know who you are and what you're like. We ask you to continue to bless them as they grow in this wondering knowledge, in this life, and just pray for each person in this room to continue to nurture these children in your way, that we may all experience your love and share it with those around us. Amen. Before you go rushing off to worship and wonder, I want you to go back with your parents for a couple more parts of worship, and then we'll let you know when you're dismissed for that, okay? We're going to set this out there, too, if anybody wants some later.
See us Hey everyone. So, fun fact about me, back in about 2020, my husband and I were going to foster. We went through Foster Adopt Connect to get all of our training. So when our BFG was coming up with options for nonprofits, it was a no-brainer to bring up Foster Adopt Connect because they do so much for foster kids, the foster families, and the kids' families. So to tell us a little bit more about Foster Adopt Connect, I would love for you all to welcome Liz Ross to the stage.
At Foster Adopt Connect, our mission is to break the generational cycle of abuse and neglect by providing supports and services to foster and adoptive children and all of the families caring for them.
Each year, thousands of children enter the foster care system in Missouri and Kansas. The child welfare system is traditionally pretty overloaded, and so we know that there's gaps. So our mission is to find innovative programs that help fill those gaps so that kids can grow up successfully in their forever homes.
We're able to unite children with loving relatives, foster families, adoptive families, homes where they're able to begin the healing process through our programs like Extreme Family Finding and 30 Days to Family. We're also able to support those foster and adoptive families via programs like our licensing, our advocacy, our training, free clothing through our clothing closet and food pantry, as well as our behavioral interventionist program. And for youth who are aging out of foster care, we're able to support them via our Community Connections Youth Project, as well as our legal advocacy department.
A large portion of our staff have foster and adoptive experience. And so when you're able to connect with somebody who's walked the walk that you walk, then you're able to find resources and you're able to find the support so that you can continue to parent, love, and care for the kids that are in your home.
We started as a small support group for foster families, and now we're serving thousands of kids and families each year. Our work changes the trajectory of vulnerable kids' lives and allows them the very best chance to grow up to become happy and healthy members of our community.
So you heard them say that most of our staff has foster and adoptive personal experience. I actually grew up, my parents started doing foster care when I was 1, and through the years fostered hundreds of children. I actually have 28 brothers and sisters, 5 biological and the rest adopted. It's a lot, but it's, you know, growing up in church there was this song, it was Whom Shall I Send? Do you know what song I'm talking about? And I feel like most of the folks that I work with have that send me attitude, and that is what I really love about it. If we could go to the next slide. So we started in the year 2000 in Kansas City, and now we are in 16 locations across Kansas and Missouri. We serve 167 counties. And you heard about some of our programs. We really have tried to fill in gaps. One of the big gaps that we have is working with youth who are about to age out of foster care or who have aged out of foster care who don't have those supports. We have several programs helping them with getting their budget together and getting ready for school, to go to college or technician school, other things like that. We do have a Connect Cafe, which hires and trains youth who have aged out of foster care specifically, so all of their staff not only go in and work and get paid, but they also have life skills classes that they're paid to attend as well, and that is going very, very well. Okay, so this is really what I wanted to talk to you about. I know that you all right now are in the middle of doing a sock and underwear drive for us, so new socks and underwear are always something that we need. We also have a lot of volunteer opportunities. So we have our Give Joy program, which is gifts during the holidays, our back to school program, and other volunteer opportunities. So if any of you are interested in learning any more about that, it's fosteradopt.org. All right, that's all that I have for you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, and we're grateful that you chose to be with us this morning to share about this important work. As we continue in worship, I invite you to stand and sing with us. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
Well, good morning to you. Liz, thank you for you and your work. Thank you for helping be a space of Christ, of connection, of life that is normally a blind spot. Thank you for the sacred work that you and y'all from Alabama, y'all are doing and embodying. For all of us, we are a couple of weeks removed from the resurrection, of Jesus' resurrection. And the women went to the tomb, and there was no one there. And then Tiger spoke a bit about holes in hands last week. About what does your resurrection mean if there aren't holes in your hands? That's a provocative thought. And then today we're going to hear a story that Luke tells that is a bewildering story. It's a bit of a mysterious story, and yet it is part of our story as well. There are these two people who are walking away from Jerusalem, the place where crucifixion took place, and their heads are low, their souls are heavy, because Jesus died, which is to say their hope died. Maybe you've been in a place where hope has died, and your soul is heavy, and you don't know what to do. If you've been in a place like that before, well, this story is for you. The Gospel of Luke chapter 24, verses 13 through 35. Luke tells the story this way. Now on that same day, two of the disciples, were going to a village called Emmaus, which is about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they were talking with each other about all these things that had happened, about the crucifixion of Jesus, about how the empire had lynched Jesus, about how Jesus had died. And while they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing, from seeing who he was. And so he said to them, "What are you all discussing with each other while you're walking along?" And they stood still. They were looking sad. And then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered, "My friend, are you the only one who doesn't know? Are you the only one in all this area, the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know these things that have taken place? Y'all, it's been blared in every newspaper and every blog across the world. How do you not know what's happened?" And he said, "Well, what things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our religious leaders, our pastors, our priests, our leaders handed him over to be condemned by death and crucified him. But we had hoped. We had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the 3rd day, which is to say, he ain't dead, he's really dead. He ain't coming back. It is now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Now some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him. So then the stranger said to the disciples, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" And then beginning with Moses and all the prophets, the stranger interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. Now as they came near the village to which they were going, the stranger kept walking ahead as if he were going on. But the disciples urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. And when he was at the table with them, he took the bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They sat there and looked at each other and said, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned back to Jerusalem. And they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. And they were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. A bewildering story. Jesus is a bit of a tease, is he not? He's there. He's gone. Hope that won't stay buried. Hope that won't stay buried. At 9:09 p.m. on April the 13th of 1970, an oxygen tank exploded on Apollo 13. The shuttle was some 200,000 miles away from Earth. It was scheduled to make it the 3rd human lunar landing, on the moon. And all of a sudden, this mission, though, that was a lunar mission, quickly shifted and changed into a mission of survival. It was a bit of desperation that was taking place. Jim Lovell, the commander of the crew, described that his first emotion, the first thing that he thought and felt when the explosion took place, was not one of panic. No, Lovell described that his first emotion was one of disappointment. He had spent so many years training and working and planning and leading to finally set foot on the moon, to in one moment, his dreams vanished. In fact, Lovell would go on to say that it wasn't just in that moment that he felt a sense of disappointment, but for nearly 5 years afterwards, he was in a state of depression, of frustration. Why couldn't I be on the moon? The dream that I had wanted will no longer happen to me. Most of us know what that moment is like. It's that kind of space where expectations instantaneously collapse and you're trying to figure out what happens next. And that's the space where the disciples are in chapter 24 of Luke. They're walking away from Jerusalem. Now, to be clear, this walking away from Jerusalem is not simply walking away from a destination or location or a city. No, it's not just walking away from the city of Jerusalem, but it's something much deeper and richer than that, because Jerusalem represented everything that they had hoped for in Jesus. They were walking away from the place where they believed something new was about to happen. But that's not what happened at all. Jesus was crucified. Jesus died. And Caesar enacted what Caesar always does. Caesar squashed folk who stepped out of line. And they say to themselves, we had hoped. We had hoped. If you and I are honest, we have said that thing as well. We've had moments where something that we believed in, something that you and I have built our lives around, suddenly vanishes and changes. We had hoped. And the faith that we once had doesn't necessarily disappear in those moments, but it definitely takes a hit. It changes, it shifts, it becomes less certain, and faith becomes much more fragile. It becomes, questions begin to arise in places that once confidence lived. A 2024 Pew Research Center study found that many people step away from organized religion, not out of a space of indifference, but because of a space of disappointment or quiet wounds. You see, faith does not necessarily collapse all at once, but it fades over time. It fades like a long walk away from something that once felt so certain. And that's the road to Emmaus. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's just two people trying to make sense of what feels like the end of a story. And as they're walking along the road, someone joins them. Now, you and I get a bit of the secret. Luke tells us the secret of the story that the characters don't realize at all. This stranger has a name, and the name of the stranger is Jesus. Jesus is walking along this road with them, and yet the two folk don't recognize who he is. And what I love about this story is how the conversation unfolds between the two disciples and Jesus. Because Jesus does not immediately explain anything. He doesn't correct their assumptions or interrupt their grief. Instead, Jesus asks, what are y'all talking about? And he allows the folk to tell their story as they understand it. He gives them the space to gut-wrenchingly be honest with their disappointment and with their disillusionment. And in the middle of their grieving, Luke includes this small detail that is often so easy to miss. Luke says the men stood still, looking sad. They stood still, looking sad. It's a quiet moment. They don't stop walking, but for a second, the conversation just sits there in the open. And that's where Jesus meets them, right in the middle of their confusion and grief, right in the middle of their haze and fog. And that matters something to us because it suggests something about how God shows up. God does not show up with a nice bow once everything is resolved. No, God shows up while we are still trying to understand all that has happened. Brene Brown once said, quote, "Owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that you and I will ever do." And that's what the disciples are doing. They're telling their story. And they're telling their story with honesty, even when it hurts. They're not telling a polished version of the story to gain approval of the folk around them. No, they're telling it with their deep, they're exposing all their hurt and their pain. And instead of stepping back, Jesus leans in, which is to say, Emmanuel, the God with us, leans in to the grief and the confusion and the haze. Jesus steps closer. And if anything begins to change in this moment, it's not because the disciples suddenly understand now. No, it's because they begin to realize that they are not alone in the midst of their uncertainty. And by the time that they reach Emmaus, something has started to shift inside of them, even if they don't fully understand it. See, the conversation with a stranger has done something to them. To be clear, it has not solved anything, but it has kept them engaged. So when they arrive, the disciples invite the stranger to stay. What a simple act of hospitality. But it becomes the crux and the central focal and turning point of the story. Because as they sit down at the table, the scene suddenly starts to feel a bit familiar to them. Because bread is taken, bread is blessed, bread is broken, and bread is given. And all of a sudden, it clicks. It makes sense. That's when they realize who has been with them all along. It has been Christ in their midst, even when they didn't recognize him. Now, whenever I hear this story, I always get frustrated at this point because the moment that they recognize who has been with them, he disappears. Jesus, what are you doing? Jesus, you are a tease, right? But then I begin to realize the disciples start to understand that recognition didn't start in the breaking of the bread. No, it had already been growing inside of them all along. This quiet stirring, this warmth, this curiosity that something more was present even before they could clearly see it had been with them the whole time. Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking and walking alongside us on the road? In other words, what they're saying is something had been happening before they could name it. There was something deep within them, something subtle to be sure, yet it was real. That the conversation they were having with a stranger mattered. That something was taking shape even when they didn't understand what it was. Cormac McCarthy has a story entitled The Road. McCarthy writes of a world in which ash covers the entire earth, and survival is questionable at best. And McCarthy tells a story of a son and a father who are walking along but they carry this phrase, this mantra inside of them as they look at desolation all around them. I don't know what the next day is going to entail. The Father keeps saying over and over again, we're carrying the fire. We're carrying the fire. Now the Father isn't holding any fire at all. He ain't talking about a physical flame. No, the dad can't explain what the fire is, but the fire doesn't take away the danger that is around them. The fire does not guarantee safety for them, but it is something within them that refuses to go out. It's this quiet, stubborn sense that goodness and meaning and hope grow all around them and is still alive, even when everything around them suggests otherwise. And that's what this moment on the Emmaus Road is like. The disciples do not move from disparity to clarity in one instance. Instead, something has been growing within them, a sense that their story might not be over at all. And then comes the bewildering point of the story. The story that if I'm honest, I don't think I have enough confidence inside of me that I would have done what they do. The disciples turn around and they head back to Jerusalem, to the place they were leaving, from the place that they were fleeing, the place that they were leaving behind. They return to the spot where the pain had been, where their hopes had been dashed. But they return different. They return with this new set of eyes. Because the resurrection does not erase what has happened. Resurrection does not undo the cross. Instead, resurrection reshapes how the past is carried forward. And that is a significant distinction. Because it means that faith is not about pretending that the hard and difficult parts of your life did not happen, if you follow that double negative. Rather, it is about discovering that those parts do not get the final word. Resurrection meets us mid-sentence, where old assumptions fall away, and where something more honest and more resilient begins to take shape. So maybe you ought to think about some of these wondering questions we might consider together. In this moment today, now, where are you tempted to walk away from in your life? Not out of a sense of apathy, but out of a sense of disappointment. And is it possible that something is still unfolding there, even if you can't fully see it? The disciples did not return to Jerusalem because they had everything figured out. They returned because something started to shift, and they couldn't ignore it. So for you and me, the invitation today is not to try to resolve everything. The invitation is to keep going, keep walking, keep staying open, keep paying attention to what's unfolding. Keep trusting that the quiet work of hope is rising in you. Because hope in the hands of God does not stay buried. Hope in the hands of God rises again and again and again and again. And for that I say, thanks be to God.
We're at a time in our worship when we respond to what we've heard today. Financial offerings can be brought to the baskets up here in the front, and if you need help with that, please raise your hand. A deacon will come and assist you. Or you can use the QR code on the screen or in your bulletin to give financially. If you want to respond to something God is doing in your life by exploring baptism, joining the church, or just asking for prayer, you can meet Pastor David down here in the front. As you're able, please stand and sing.
Will you come and follow me if I but call your name? Will you go where you don't know and never be the same? Will you let my love be shown? Will you let my name be known? Will you let my life be grown in you and will you leave yourself behind if I but call your name? Will you care for cruel and kind and never be the same? Will you risk the hostile stare? Should your life attract or scare? Will you let me answer prayer in you and you in me? Will you let the blinded see if I but call your name? Will you set the prisoners free and never be the same? Will you kiss the leper clean and do such as this unseen and admit to what I need in you and you in me? Will you love the you hide if I but call your name? Will you quell the fear inside and never be the same? Will you use the faith you found to reshape the world around? Through my sight and touch and sound in you and you in me. Lord, your summons echoes true when you but call my name. Let me turn and follow you and never be the same. In your company I'll go where your love and footsteps show. Thus I'll move and live and grow in you and you in me.
I'd like to invite Chris Collins, Chair of the Personnel Committee, and Pastor Tammy Gill to the front. We want to say thank you to Tammy for all of her good work in ministry and works from the church.
I would like to thank Tammy for her time at Holmeswood. Our goodbyes are bittersweet, recognizing that some chapters cannot last forever, but there is also joy in the transition to new chapters. Tammy, thank you for teaching our children what it means to follow Christ. We are grateful for how you support and strengthen the families in our church and creating lasting memories while organizing events that bring us together. We appreciate your passion for missions and for leading our congregation to be a light in our city. Our children, our families, and our church are better because of your leadership and love. Thank you. We have a love offering for you and flowers. Here's some flowers for you. You can say some words.
Okay, it's all right. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity the past 2 years to come back here to Holmeswood. It's been a joy reconnecting with old friends, some of you I know from long ago, and making new friends who found their home here at this great church and community. If there's one message, probably you've heard me preach every time I preach, is I wonder. So I wonder if you could just remember me as Wonder Woman. You know, anytime you think of Wonder Woman, it's about staying alive, staying connected to Christ and God and all of the goodness that God brings to our earth and our world and our presence here with one another. You know, I really do believe when we're wondering, we're closest to the heart of God, who is a creator. And wondering keeps us creative and keeps us alive. And, you know, wondering about God, wondering about this story, wondering about parts of the story that jumped out to me that I had never noticed that before. Thank you, David, for that. It was like, I hadn't noticed that. That's what you grab onto, and you just keep wondering, and you just keep walking and wondering and walking and wondering, and you never know where God's going to lead you next. So I'm not sure where God's leading me next, but that song, The Summons, did you pick that on purpose? It's like, here we go again. Here we go again, God. I'm not quite sure, but I'm really excited for the journey, and I've enjoyed each and every one of you and every moment here wondering together. Thank you.
Tammy, thank you for the past 2 years of colleague, dreaming, embodying, helping figure out what the church looks like now. Our trajectory is different and changed because of you. So thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your wisdom. Even before service started this morning, one of my daughters came up and said, "Dad, I want you to come see my fairy garden." I said, "Well, I got to talk to folk first. Meet me after the service." And she said, "Dad, you're always talking to folk at the end of the service." What I'm really trying to say, though, is that was an example of creating space for my children to grow. And they were excited about that. I did go see them. So I'll talk to you later, y'all. But thank you. Tammy will go ahead and step out right there. You are invited to have some cake and punch, give her a card, tell her, bless her, give her thanks for all the goodness that you are. So before you leave, don't leave right away. Go eat, drink, and be merry. Let me also quickly say thank you all. We had, earlier in the service, we had a church member who fainted, fainted. And y'all did exactly what you're supposed to do. There was a quick response from folk who have medical knowledge, and then you stepped back. Can I say that? One of the hardest things to do is give space. So, because you can have too many cooks in the kitchen, is what I'm saying. And so we had some people who already called the ambulance, some folk who were being very attentive, some folk who stepped away. It was perfect, is what I'm trying to say. So if something were to happen to you, know that we'll work on it together, okay? And there are knowledgeable, good folk that are here. I don't know what the future looks like. I can't look in a crystal ball and say this is exactly where we will be a year from now. But I do believe that we are different and shifted and better and deeper and richer than where we were 2 years ago. Part of that's because of Tammy. Part of that is because you have walked with a stranger in your midst. And as we look back, we realize it ain't no stranger, it's the Christ. I can only hope and imagine the depth and richness and more beautiful place and people that we will be, both individually and collectively, 2 years from now, because we continue to walk with Christ. So in that space, in that moment, in that frame, hear this final benediction today. As you go from here, go in the way of Christ. Love God. Care for all of creation. And trust that peace will make the world whole. May Christ's love shape each of our lives, and may healing and wholeness become our hope made real. May all of us go in peace.